It's Tuesday, January 24th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mannel. We have a great show in store for you today. We're going to find out what's happening in the Barnstable Police Department during our chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald. A dredging project in Hyannis is now complete. We're going to get an update on that from DPW Director Dan Santos. And we're going to break down Thursday's Town Council meeting on this episode of Barnstable Today. Now let's get a look at today's top headlines. The Craigville Motel hopes to reopen after being closed in 2015 due to health code violations and for housing long-term tenants. An attorney representing the motel will update the Board of Health on changes that were made and will request another operating license. The Board of Health will also discuss lifeguard rules at swimming pools. The Board of Health meets today, Tuesday, January 24th at 3 in the Town Hall hearing room. The Barnstable Land Trust is working to preserve a parcel of land in West Barnstable. The organization is requesting Conservation Commission support of an application to the Community Preservation Committee. The Land Trust is seeking community preservation funds to help purchase the nearly 3.5-acre property located on Church Street. The Conservation Commission meets today at 3. Cape Cod Commission staff hope to get resident feedback as they work to improve zoning in Hyannis. To do that, the Commission has scheduled several meetings regarding planning in and around Hyannis. There is a meeting scheduled for February 6th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Barnstable Senior Center. The meeting is open to the public. All are encouraged to attend. An important reminder for parents of Barnstable Public School students: there are still families who have not yet completed the annual student verification sheet. This must be completed by February 1st. A link can be found on the Barnstable Schools website under Back to School Student Information. Students who do not complete that Back to School form by February 1st will be unable to access technology, receive medical attention, attend field trips, participate in clubs and sports, or retain parking privileges. Up next, we're going to chat with Chief of Police Paul McDonald. We thought we were going to have Police Chief Paul McDonald, but we get a surprise visit from Deputy Chief Matthew Sonnabend. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to talk a little bit about some important staff changes to the Barnstable Police Department. What can you tell me about the Barnstable Police Department growing a little bit?
Oh yeah, there's been some big changes. You know, over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of retirements. People that have been with us for a long time and put in their service. They've gone. We're very thankful for their service, but unfortunately, it kind of left us behind the 8 ball as far as having enough people. And so what happened was we did hire 8 new police officers. They did finish up their field training, and they are now out on their own. They're out on the road, patrolling the road, and fulfilling all their duties, which has really helped out a lot as far as staffing levels and getting the shifts back up to strength. We also this week completed another hiring process for four officers, and 4 people have been given conditional offers. Right now, they are, like I said, they're conditional offers. It's contingent upon the fact that they still have a few tasks that need to be completed. They need to, complete a medical exam, a psychological exam, and a physical assessments test. And of course, after they've passed all those, they'll be scheduled for an academy date, which 22 weeks is a long time, but through the academy. But we're confident that they'll get through it. We're confident we've gotten the right people, and so far we've been blessed with the people that we have working for us.
That is great. And it's not as easy as you would think it is to apply for a position in the police department. So this might be a good time to tell us a little bit more about how that works. I think any candidate would need to take the civil service exam before applying, and that's only given, is it once a year or every 2 years?
I am so glad you brought that up, because we are always looking for qualified personnel, especially people that are from the town, that have embraced the town and that love this community and want to see it grow and prosper. And to that end, the state does have an exam. It's every 2 years. As you know, we're a civil service police department, so we can only hire off of the state civil service exam. And it is given every 2 years. Generally, it's in April. In the past, it's been in April. But this year, they kind of gave us a curveball, and they moved it to March. It is going to be March 25th. And anyone that is interested in taking the civil service exam should visit the Massachusetts Department of Human Resources website, and under the Civil Service Unit, there will be instructions on how to apply for the exam. The application for the exam is all handled online now. It's all electronic, so they notify you of any changes in dates, and once you've completed the exam and passed it, they'll notify if a department you've selected to be considered for starts a hiring process. You'll be notified electronically of when that process starts. So that's all handled electronically.
Wow, that is pretty cool. How do they, so they just get online, sign up for that, take the exam, and then hopefully a position comes open. Very cool, I think, that the Barnstable Police Department really relies on local people. They hire first from individuals who live in the town of Barnstable.
Well, it's always nice to have someone who has a vested interest in the community and who grew up here and loves the place to come back and have an opportunity to stay here.
Yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit too. I know a group of Barnstable High School students actually went to D.C. For the inauguration. Lots of things happening in the city during that time. Everyone had a great experience though, and came back with positive messages.
Yep, they did. They went down. They had a great time. I believe they left last Thursday, and they came back really late Sunday night. They all had a great time, and I just wanted to extend my thanks to the Barnstable staff, the Barnstable school system staff that went with them, and were able to make that a safe trip and an enjoyable trip for all those kids. And it's really, when you think about it, it's like a once-in-a-lifetime experience to go down there and see what's going on and how the transition of power and how our government works.
Yeah, see democracy in action.
Exactly.
You get the whole experience. I think probably a little nerve-wracking for some of those students with some of the protests that were going on. Did you hear anything from some of the chaperones that attended? Were there nerves during the trip, or did it really go pretty smoothly?
Overall, my son did go on the trip, and overall the vibe that was coming back is, everyone was a little nervous, kind of. You can never really count on what people are going to do when they're down there, protesting and doing other things. But I think everything was taken with, from what I heard back, that everything was taken, planned well in advance, and things were done very judiciously. No one was intentionally put in any harm's way, and they really thought out what they were going to do and had a good plan, and the kids enjoyed themselves, and the vibe coming back was a positive one. Yeah, and
I'm sure they got a history lesson right up close. Love that.
Love
when
sure.
Kids get to see it up close.
Oh, it was great. It was an awesome opportunity, and that our school system can provide those opportunities, not just for this, but the amount of opportunities available in our public school system these days are mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing, and you are correct. We're very lucky here in Barnstable to have the school district that we do. Well, thank you for chatting with us today. We really appreciate it, and for filling in for the chief today. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll get to chat with you again in the near future.
Hopefully. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, you too. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Our guest today, of course, Deputy Chief of Police Matthew Sonnabend. Well, the Department of Public Works does not slow down in the winter. We get an update on completed and ongoing projects with DPW Director Dan Santos. And the Department of Public Works is working on many projects and just completed some. To give us an update, we have DPW Director Dan Santos. Dan, one of the projects I want to get an update on is the Bay Street boat ramp in Osterville. I know that was getting a little rehab project. How is that going?
Yes, that's going very well. They got underway a couple of weeks ago before the snowstorm, and what that project entails is rebuilding the boat ramp so that people with boats can access the water there in Osterville with their boats, and it includes also a new parking area and some drainage structures. So a lot of what we're trying to do with our projects that are at boat landings or anywhere near our water resources is we try to improve drainage so that we don't have runoff from the roads going directly into the water body. So in this case, the pavement that we're putting down on the parking area is called a pervious pavement. In other words, water can go through it. So it looks like pavement, and it's hard, but water can actually go through it and leach into the soil beneath and not run off. The other thing we're doing is capturing runoff up the road a little bit from here and then putting this into some what we call rain gardens, which is basically a type of swale where the water goes through some plantings and some of the contaminants get filtered out there. So that's why there's two benefits, obviously, to these projects. One is to the recreational users, but also to the environment. And but it's a very interesting project in that to put the ramp in, you have to build a cofferdam, and what that is a structure that keeps the water out where the water normally is. So you put in this sheet piling and then pump the water out, and then you can construct your project. In this case, it's a concrete boat ramp. So it's very interesting construction project.
You know, is this a new technology, this type of concrete that allows water to flow through? It seems like something that we could really take advantage of being a coastal community in many places.
Yeah, it's fairly new. We actually have some of it at the HYCC. It was more of a test. It has higher maintenance requirements. And previously when we used a lot of sand on the roads, that would be a problem because you can clog it with sand. But now we're not using as much sand, in fact, very little during the winter snow and ice events, and so that might make it a little more promising for us.
Now, you said this started kind of recently. How long do you think this project will take to wrap up?
Oh, this project should be done in April, May time frame, in time for the biggest use, the season, if you will.
Yeah, can't wait to see all those boats out there on the water. Let's talk about some dredging projects. I know there was a dredging project happening in Hyannis Harbor. How is that project coming along, or is that complete now?
Yes, that's complete. What we did there, this was a small dredging project, and it was in the area of the Gateway Marina, which is it's a town-owned marina, and which is at the basically adjacent to the Maritime Museum. And what was happening is the water depths were getting too shallow for some of the boats that rent spaces there because of the buildup of sand and silt, which is a normal occurrence in waterways and harbors, and occasionally you got to remove it. And in this case, it got to the point where we needed to get it out of there because they were losing the use of some of the slips. And all of our dredge projects are complicated in that they take a lot of permitting and design and thought and interaction with the state. So it takes a while to get these done. But we got that all worked out, and last month it didn't take long at all, but we had to pull the docks, and they pull the piers that hold the docks, and then they do all the dredging down to a predetermined depth. And that material, interestingly, in this case, was taken by barge all the way around the Cape, through Woods Hole and up through the canal out into Cape Cod Bay, and it was deposited in a deposit area that's the Army Corps of Engineers has approved for the placement of this sediment. and that's where that material went. And then they put the piers back and the docks back, and they get to use it in the summer back to normal. There's a couple of considerations on these dredge projects. Is they're very limited when you can do the work because there's different fish habitat that they don't want being disturbed by these projects. So they allow us really to do it in late fall into early January, and that's about it. It's a very small window. Oftentimes with our dredging, it's sand, and what we try to do is reuse that sand, and so it can be used for renourishing beaches that lose sand. And we've done that on Long Beach, and we've done that on Sandy Neck, and we've done that at Bush Point, a number of places. But to determine that, you have to analyze the material to see whether it is sand and it's compatible with where you want to put it. In the case of the inner harbor, there's a lot more kind of muck and fine, so it's not appropriate for beach renourishment, and that's why this material was deposited out in Cape Cod Bay. And this, the other option is to go to a landfill with the material if it doesn't meet the required standards.
Yeah, probably a little bit easier to do away with it in Cape Cod Bay for sure. Well, thank you, Dan, for joining us today, giving us an update on some of these really important projects. I know a lot of boaters who are going to be very happy about these.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks so much, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Our guest today, DPW Director Dan Santos. Town Council met last Thursday night. We have details from that meeting in a special Town Council Roundup. Town Council approves a small land taking in Centerville. They approved spending $725,000 for open space and $75,000 for community housing support. We break it down for you in under 8 minutes. Town Council votes to spend a little under $2,000 for a land taking in Centerville. The land taking is a requirement for a future Mass DOT project aimed at improving the intersection of Strawberry Hill Road and Route 28. DPW Director Dan Santos explains why that land taking is necessary.
The Massachusetts Department of Transportation has bid a contract for intersection improvements at Falmouth Road, Route 28, and Strawberry Hill Road. The proposed improvements include traffic signal modifications, curb line adjustments, installation of American Disability Act's compliant curb ramps, signs, and pavement marking alterations. The value of the contract is approximately $600,000. Actually, the latest value of that bid will open next week, is close to $900,000 at this point, with all costs included. A connection between the new curb ramp and the existing sidewalk on the property occupied by CVS on the northeast corner of the intersection is a required condition for eligibility for federal transportation funds. And the slide shown here, and I'm pointing on my left. This is the CVS, Route 28, Strawberry Hill Road, and CVS. The location of the easement is here. I have another map in just a moment. Because the construction of the connection between the ramp and the existing sidewalk will occur on private property and no other alternative exists, a temporary 3-year easement is required by the state in order to undertake construction. Normally, Mass DOT would secure all easements for their projects. In this case, they have notified the town that they do not have the time to obtain the required easement, and that unless the town obtained the easement, that the project would not be awarded and that the funds would be reclaimed by the federal government. DPW has identified the owner, and it's not CVS, that's a leased property, and has attempted to contact them via telephone, calls, site visits, and certified mailings on a number of occasions over the past 6 months. The owner has not responded to any of our requests. Consequently, the temporary easement must be taken by eminent domain. The town has engaged the services of a state-approved appraiser to provide the basis of an award of damages. As part of the appraisal process, the appraiser is required to attempt to contact the owner of the property. The owner did not respond to the appraiser's requests either. The area of the 3-year temporary easement is 746 square feet, and with an appraised market value of $1,710. Funding for this project will be provided from the general fund reserves. The FY17 operating budget will not be affected.
And Council voted unanimously to support that small land taking. Town Council approved spending $75,000 for community housing support. Housing Coordinator Arden Cadron explained how those funds will be used.
It is a program that started in 2007. We've assisted 3 households, 3 units. We've saved the affordability in 3 units, and we have since depleted the funds. There's still a need out there, and so we are asking that we fill this program again with an additional $75,000. So why do we need to buy down these resales? The old deed writer was based on the appraised value of a unit. Nobody back then, and many years ago, had a crystal ball and realized that this wasn't really going to work out very well. So it's based on the appraised value. As appraised values go up, so does the resale price. It goes up higher than an affordable buyer can afford. So we provide some funding to bring that price back down to something that is affordable to an eligible buyer. And in return for that, we get the new universal deed rider. The new deed rider is based on median income, so it will always remain affordable to the level of income that we are targeting. So we will not continue to have this problem as we replace these deed riders. So if we're awarded these funds, when these resales come up, we will replace them with this new deed rider.
And the Council also voted unanimously to support that expense. A plan to expand the Cape Cod Rail Trail into Barnstable moves forward. Community Preservation Committee Chair Lindsay Council urged the Council to support spending $725,000 of community preservation funds to purchase open space off of Independence Drive in Hyannis.
The Community Preservation Committee recommends approval from the Town Council for CPA funding in the amount of $404,000 from the unreserved fund for the fee simple acquisition of a vacant 12.87 acre parcel addressed 755 Independence Drive, Hyannis, map 332, parcel 010-002 for all CPA purposes. This funding request represents a portion of the total $725,000 purchase price, with the remaining balance previously allocated from CPA open space funds in the amount of $321,000 pursuant to Council Order 2008-112 for a conservation restriction to be granted to Mass Division of Fish and Wildlife on the 9.5 acre southern portion as part of the mitigation for the Bikeway project. The acquisition of this parcel is in support of the proposed extension of the Cape Cod Rail Trail being constructed from the town of Barnstable from the town of Yarmouth through land in the town of Barnstable, with part of the 3.737 acre northern portion to be used for bikeway parking, and the remainder having potential for community housing or other CPA uses. This parcel is located in the industrial park, which lies within the Wellhead Protection Overlay District. The conservation restriction on the southern portion of the property offsets a portion of land use granted by Mass Division of Fish and Wildlife for the bikeway. The preservation of this area near the Hyannis water system wells will protect drinking water quality, rare and endangered plant and wildlife species, and the coastal plain ponds ecosystem.
And the Council approved spending $725,000 for the extension of the Cape Cod Rail Trail. Council also voted to accept $128,000 from the State Office of Elder Affairs for the Barnstable Senior Center. Town Council meets again Thursday, February 2nd at 7 p.m. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. Barnstable Fine Arts students and the JFK Museum in Hyannis are teaming up for a new exhibit. The exhibit opening of BHS and JFK Artistically Honoring Our Past will be held Tuesday, February 7th. At the opening, you'll be able to view student work honoring the life and legacy of John F. Kennedy. The reception will be hosted at Barnstable High School in the main lobby at 5 p.m. and will showcase art created and curated by students after they were given a behind-the-scenes tour of the JFK Museum in Hyannis. Well, do you want to know more about digging for razor clams? The town's Marine and Environmental Affairs Department is hosting 2 great razor clam classes in February. The first class will be held Saturday, February 4th at 11 a.m. at Scudder's Lane in Barnstable. The second class will be held at noon Sunday, February 5th. Thank you so much for tuning. Oh, now let's take a look at our board, committee, and commission roundup. Well, thanks for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show. Tomorrow we'll talk to the Main Street Business Improvement District Executive Director Elizabeth Werfane. We'll also talk to Assistant Airport Manager Katie Service and so much more. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mantle.